Race 3 for the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 SuperCup is about to get underway. And race 3 means reverse grid. So the top 8 have been reversed. Jonathan Greensmith, you're second on the grid. You started 8th in the last race, you went backwards.
Yeah, it weren't a good one. Setup were wrong. We didn't get it quite right, and it started coming in towards the end. And so it was just too late then. So lucky for me, reverse grid puts me on P2. So see what we can do now.
It's all about the start from P2, isn't it? Hopefully you get in front for the first corner and keep all this lot behind you.
Yeah, well that is the plan, trying to get in front, but you never know, do you?
No, you don't. Well, good luck for race 3. Hopefully we'll see you on the podium at the end.
Yeah, me too. Cheers.
Okay. So with that, let's keep an eye on this. Andy McEwan, over to you.
Yes, well, reverse grid races always provide action, and this one I'm sure will be no different around the tight and twisty Brands Hatch Indy circuit. Carl Garnett, the lucky man, drawn on pole position alongside Greensmith on the front row. Then Steve Roberts and Simon Baldwin ahead of Aidan Hills and Jack Harding, with James Blake Baldwin and Luke Herbert on the front row of the grid, top 2 from the last race. Then it's Sam Tapner and Gary Townsend, Alec Livesley and Jack Sycamore, Bradley Kent and Colin Bysouth on row 7, Christian White and Alex Miller on row 8. Xavier Brook and Tom Parker are next, then Jeff Gurrier and Nick Rutter, then it's John Stack and Marcus Warbrick, and then the drivers who didn't finish race 2, Will Stevenson and Nick Boone, Alex King and George Grant, James Kell and Duncan Harris at the rear of the field. So, Johnny Greensmith, last time out at Knock Hill, didn't have a particularly exciting first couple of races, a 4th and a 7th place finish, then got drawn on the front row for race 3 and won it. Can he do the same thing again today after 2 7th place finishes? He could really do with a race win. As the lights go out, he rushes towards Paddock Hill Bend. He's got to try and find a way around Carl Garnett first of all though, who he's side by side with into the first corner. Look at Luke Herbert there, going around the outside of everybody towards Paddock Hill Bend, but gets boxed out by Simon Baldwin. Greensmith though has the lead, I think, as they go towards Druid. Yes, he does. So Greensmith leads the way, and that's Simon Baldwin trying to go around the outside. Luke Herbert makes it 3 wide right around the outside. Jack Harding is off the track further back. That's drama for one of our championship contenders. But as they head down the hill, it is going to be Greensmith from Garnett, from Simon Baldwin, the top 3, with then Luke Herbert, I think, up to 4th already. On board with Colin Bysouth, who had a spin down at Graham Hill Bend on the opening lap of race 2, gets through there safely this time around. That's Gary Townsend and Alec Livesley behind him. Bysouth in the zebra liveried car is keeping it a lot cleaner at the start of this 3rd race of the weekend. Side by side for second there briefly as Simon Baldwin tried to get up the inside of Carl Garnett for that P2. You can see though in the pack there how Jack Harding has really lost out, down to about 9th or 10th position, I believe, at the end of the opening lap after running wide up at Druids in towards Paddock. There is Jack Harding looking for the 43 car ahead of Jack Sycamore and Colin Bysouth. Now, having finished behind Blake Baldwin by 2 points in the first race, he did lose the championship lead to James. So James moved 2 points ahead of him, but Luke Herbert, of course, gained points on them all. So it now works out that Blake Baldwin leads the championship by 2 points over Herbert and Harding, tied for second. That's how close it is. And Luke Herbert is just in front of Blake Baldwin in this one again, because they're both quite some distance now in front of Jack Harding, who's got some work to do. In towards the end of the lap we go then, and Carl Garnett here defending second place from Simon Baldwin. He throws one up the inside in towards Clearways. He did this a couple of times in the previous race, and he's going to try and do it again now to Carl Garnett. Leans on the number 19 AK Automotive car on the exit of the corner, but does get himself fully alongside. So Baldwin on the inside line towards Paddock, and is he about to open the floodgates? I wouldn't, because Luke Herbert is there as well, trying to follow him through. Garnett has to go late on the brakes to try and hold on to the position. He's a bit too late though, gets out onto the dirty side of the road, runs out over the curbs, and that could do the damage, because up the inside again goes Baldwin, and watch out for Luke Herbert, and then the other Baldwin, James Blake Baldwin, try and follow through. Actually, James is on the outside line there at the hairpin and gets almost boxed out wide by Steve Roberts, who's been very racy this weekend. Simon Baldwin and Luke Herbert go through. Now James is up the inside in towards Graham Hill Bend, so 3 places lost already for Garnett, and a loss of momentum on the exit of the corner. So Aidan Hills tried to get up the inside of him in towards Surtees. Can he make that one work? Side by side into one of the quickest corners on the track, and he had to back out of it. That loses him momentum there, and Steve Roberts and a resurgent Jack Harding are right behind him now. So Jack is desperately trying to get himself back onto terms with his championship contenders, basically. Just behind them is Colin Bysouth, who turns his way across the start-finish line and onto one more lap. And I do mean turn across the start-finish line, because you can see there that he looked at the pit wall down the pit straight, right until they cross the line. It just gives them the shortest route to the line, and also being up close to the pit wall shields them from a little bit of the wind resistance that they would ordinarily find. Just pick up a little bit more speed down the straight. So this is the fight for second then. Luke Herbert in a Baldwin sandwich. He's got Simon Baldwin in front of him, James Blake Baldwin behind him. These two are stepbrothers, remember. And James Blake Baldwin, whilst he has multiple race victories in the championship, Simon Baldwin has struggled over previous years to be quite as competitive, but this year has shown an awful lot more speed in the early stages of the season. Back into clearways. Oops, Garnett runs out wide, and Aidan Hills seizes the opportunity to get alongside. The rear bumper just hanging a little bit loose on the passenger side of Aidan Hill's car. That wouldn't be troubling him too much. Across the start-finish line they go then. Greensmith from Simon Baldwin, from Luke Herbert, from James Blake Baldwin, from who in 5th place. Aidan Hills has the inside line, and now he has the position. So nice move made there by Aidan. Garnett though comes back at him on the exit, as he's perfectly entitled to do, and Aidan has to just ease the door shut in front of him. Then it's Harding, so he's ahead of Bysouth now, and trying to go after the cars in front too, but he can see Herbert and Blake Baldwin at the moment being boxed in behind the leading two. If they start making progress though, then that's even more work that Harding has to do to be able to catch them. Back out along the Cooper Straight, looking back from Colin Bysouth's car at Steve Roberts, who has dropped down the order slightly, I think, over the last few laps. He was in front of Colin, I seem to remember, at the start of the race. Certainly started in front of him. Steve starting third in this one. Colin Bysouth starting down in 14th. So Colin's really made some good progress, and Steve Roberts has lost some ground. That's why they now found themselves in these positions. There's another group of cars further back. Gary Townsend there, the 223 car, chasing down number 38 Bradley Kent in the other one of the Clapham North liveried cars. Then Will Stevenson around the outside of Christian White. Both of these drivers have ended races in the Paddock Hill Bend gravel trap so far this weekend. Side by side here at the front of the field, there is 3 wide in fact, and Simon Baldwin gets stuck in the middle there. Herbert on one side, Blake Baldwin on the other side. Herbert goes second, Blake Baldwin goes third, and then tries to get up the inside of his big championship rival. There's almost contact. Out onto the grass goes Simon Baldwin, and again Aidan Hills, ever the opportunist, is there on the inside line to gain a place as well. So Simon Baldwin, 3 places lost in 2 corners there, and that really did not go to plan. We didn't see how that started. I think he was defending from Luke Herbert, ran wide as a result, and James Blake Baldwin had already committed to the outside line. So there were 3 abreast off the corner, but now Luke Herbert is second and immediately on the attack. He latches onto the rear bumper of Johnny Greensmith's number 2 car as they come across the start-finish line in towards Paddock Hill Bend once more. Outside, inside, Herbert can't quite find a way through just yet. He's got time to maybe just think about this. He's definitely quicker than Greensmith this weekend, but he hasn't got that much time, because the more time he spends being boxed in behind the race leader, the more pressure James Blake Baldwin will start to apply. Well, this is some real racing now. So far this weekend, Herbert's been able to just control the pace out at the front of the field. This time around, though, he is not having it all his own way. Harding there, the only man not to have found a way past Simon Baldwin then in this group, and he needs to try and do it as quickly as possible, because there's every chance that Luke Herbert could hit the race lead before too much longer. Out through Surtees, in towards clearways again, and is there a gap up the inside for Luke? No, there isn't, but there is a gap up the inside for Blake Baldwin, who absolutely mugs the reigning champion and moves into second place. I don't know quite how he managed that, Blake Baldwin. He came from quite a long way back, but for whatever reason, Luke Herbert, who has been defending magnificently all weekend long, left the door open. He's trying to come back at James though, up towards Paddock Hill Bend. Aidan Hills is also closing in and about to join in on the fun, but Blake Baldwin with the inside line into Paddock Hill Bend will make the move stick. So brilliant stuff there from James, who is determined not to lose hold of this championship lead. Into the right-hander at Druids. Within reason, whoever finishes in front in this race, either Blake Baldwin or Herbert, will decide who leads the championship. If Blake Baldwin finishes ahead, then that's fairly simple. He'll lead the championship going to the next round at Castle Combe. If Herbert finishes ahead, then they could be tied on points, and if there's a car between them in Herbert's favour, he will be the leader outright. Of course, there are also 2 points available for setting the fastest lap of the race. Jack Harding at the moment has those points. Oh, Luke Herbert into the side of Blake Baldwin. What happened there? There was contact between the top 2 in the championship, and Aidan Hills takes full advantage, gets up the inside of both of them, and all of a sudden it's starting to unravel for 2 of the pre-race favourites to take the victory. They're both now stuck on the outside line. There's more contact between Simon Baldwin and Aidan Hills as they streak down down towards Paddock Hill Bend. How will this all sort itself out? Hills goes second, Herbert salvages third, but James Blake Baldwin on the outside line has been hung out to dry and is losing positions hand over fist. He tries to fight back around the outside of his stepbrother Simon into Druids. I think he'll get that place back. He may even get alongside Luke Herbert. No, he can't do that, so he cuts his losses, ducks back into line in front of Simon Baldwin. Jack Harding there as well, getting into the group. But that, what on earth happened there? Contact between the top two in the championship, and they were both very lucky to get away with that, and I don't think they've sustained any damage either. These Mazda MX-5 Mark III cars are fairly good at taking the odd bit of contact, as being proven there again as Jack Harding dives up the inside of Simon Baldwin into clearways. Carl Garnett will now follow him through. Whilst behind them, Colin Bysouth and Steve Roberts are side by side as well here between, that's James Blake Baldwin, back up the inside of Luke Herbert. So it's been a really topsy-turvy lap and a half of racing this, and all of a sudden Blake Baldwin is back into third position now, so all gets sideways though. Herbert tries to come back at him up the hill, can't quite do it, and still they are dicing away. And now, of course, Jack Harding's part of this, so you've got once more the top three in the championship. They've been inseparable all year long so far, and they're right back together again now. They're not fighting for the race lead, they're fighting for third, but there is still about half of the race to go, so this is not over yet, and if they can just stop driving into each other for a moment or two, they'd be able to start closing in on the leading two again, who are streaking away now. Greensmith and Aidan Hills loving what they're seeing in their mirrors, as these three once again will not leave each other alone. So back out of clearways they go then. Greensmith leads, Aidan Hills second, then this battle for third place with Blake Baldwin, Luke Herbert and Jack Harding nose to tail. Carl Garnett, Simon Baldwin, Colin Bysouth, Steve Roberts, Sam Tatler, and I think that's Jack Sycamore are all part of that group as well now, as they descend upon Paddock Hill Bend once again into the second half of the race. Colin Bysouth here looking back at Steve Roberts. Rob Boston racing car looking for a gap on the inside in towards Druids. He might have found one, yes he has. Goes for it on the brakes, and I think he'll make that stick. Sam Tatler wasn't quite close enough to follow him through. So just one position lost. Carl Garnett, meanwhile, alongside Simon Baldwin. That's the wrong side of the road into Graham Hill Bend. Baldwin slithers back through. Can Garnett get up the inside down the Cooper Straight? No, he can't. Baldwin just casually reaches out and unfolds his driver's side wing mirror. Always remarkable how the drivers have the presence of mind to do things like that when they're in the heat of battle, but of course without that wing mirror, well, it goes without saying, you can't see what's going on behind you very well, so it's quite important that he does make that correction. Steve Roberts now up the inside of Carl Garnett, so that takes a bit of the pressure away from the number 16 car for the time being. Side by side into Paddock, Roberts up the inside, Garnett on the outside. If Roberts goes through, then Colin Bysouth will be up there like a rat up a drain pipe as well, all sideways. Now remember, these two came together at Knock Hill in race 2 last time out, did Bysouth and Garnett, and I wonder whether there's maybe a score to be settled. Well, Sam Tatler, that was a brave place to put yourself, Sam, up the inside of those two, but he loses out big time, ends up out on the grass. Jack Sycamore gains 2 places, and Colin Bysouth loses 3. So good luck keeping up with all of that. That was very hectic stuff as they went through Paddock and Druids. At the front, it's about to get equally hectic though, I think, because the race leaders are nose to tail now, with Aidan Hills right on the rear bumper of the race leader now. If he can make this move stick quickly, then he has got the potential, I think, to get through and pull away. If he spends any more than a lap behind Greensmith, though, you would imagine that the cars behind are likely to catch him. So Aidan Hills has a very narrow window of opportunity to try and make this move stick before he then has to start defending again from everybody behind. Blake Baldwin is now in third, ahead of Luke Herbert fourth and Harding fifth. And it is side by side for the lead in towards Druids. Harding went to the outside line, couldn't quite do it, but look, that gap is already starting to be eaten into by Blake Baldwin behind him. So second to third is coming down. Into Graham Hill Bend they go again, over the curbs for Aidan Hills, and has he run out of options here maybe? Has he run out of opportunities to find a way through? Because by the time they come back onto the pit straight, the others will be well within slipstreaming range, and I'm fairly certain that Aidan will have to defend into Paddock Hill Bend this time. In fact, they're with him already as they turn through clearways. So Greensmith, that's another tick in the box for Johnny. He's been able to hold off Aidan Hills for long enough for the rest of the field to catch up and now start making life difficult for Aidan in the number 8 machine. Still looking for his first ever win in the championship was Aidan Hills, of course. Oh, Blake Baldwin dives on the inside of him. Oh, there's going to be contact, surely. Yes, there is. Floppy markers go flying once more at Paddock Hill Bend, but Blake Baldwin is up the inside for second place. He gets a shove from his championship rival Luke Herbert to try to assist him up the hill, and it works nicely for Blake Baldwin, but not for Luke. Luke was thinking that he'd be able to follow him through there and couldn't do it. So Blake Baldwin goes second, Hills down to third, and here comes Jack Harding up the inside of Luke Herbert and gets it. Luke Herbert loses another position there to Jack Harding, and that is really important because he's now behind both of his championship rivals. Simon Baldwin there as well now, with Steve Roberts joining in through Surtees, flat out at nearly, well over 100 miles an hour through there, in towards the right-hander at Clearways, and so close you could not fit anything between these cars racing in this lead group, but still it is Johnny Greensmith that leads the way. What a move that was from James Blake Baldwin. It was forceful, but the gap was there to start with, and then Aidan Hill started to close the door, and now he does it again up the inside of Greensmith. He takes the race lead away. Fantastic stuff there from James Blake Baldwin, who only 3 or 4 laps ago looked like he was out of it when he got hung out to dry, lost a load of positions, and now he's back in the race lead. So Blake Baldwin leads the way. Greensmith, can he come back at him? If he doesn't do it quickly, you'd imagine that James will have the pace to pull away at the front of the field. He leads the way. Greensmith second. Aidan Hills, yes, is still just about in third place, but Jack Harding's all over him down the Cooper Straight. There's a bit of contact between the two of them. Luke Herbert tries to take advantage and get up the inside of Harding, but decides to back out of that particular manoeuvre, as was probably sensible. What a race this has been. This has been the best race of the season so far, I think, in the MX-5 Super Cup. And the Brands Hatch Indy circuit always produces good racing. Here's a replay. Sold him the dummy look, made him think that he was going to the outside. That meant that Greensmith left the door open, and that was inch perfect judgment there from Blake Baldwin to dive from the extreme outside edge of the track to get up the inside in towards Paddock Hill Bend. Jack Harding is back up the inside of Luke Herbert meanwhile, and I think he's going to make this one stick. Herbert will try and hang tough around the outside though. Into Druids they will go, hard on the brakes. Can Herbert sail around the outside to get the inside for Graham Hill Bend? No, because Harding eases him out wide, and that means Simon Baldwin now gets alongside the championship leader. It's all starting to unravel a bit here from Luke Herbert, who, remember, has already had a couple of slightly iffy finishes, an 8th and a 6th. Oh no, contact between Simon Baldwin and Steve Roberts there as they came out of the corner, and that will lose them a lot of ground, but has it damaged either car, I wonder? It looked as though maybe the front wheel of Roberts' car got a little bit knocked there. Well, that was not in the game plan. Here's a replay. Look, Roberts on the inside. There's just a touch there. The first touch didn't do too much damage, but then they sort of get locked together with Simon Baldwin sideways, and Steve Roberts onto the grass, gesticulating as he's bouncing across the grass. Not that Simon Baldwin can see him, of course. He's long since recovered and carried on his way. But yes, Luke Herbert then back behind Jack Harding, although he's now trying to go back at him around the outside at Druids. But the point I was making is that Luke has had a 7th and a 6th place finish back at Silverstone, which by his standards are bad finishes. So they are 2 of his drop scores already. If he finishes outside the top 5 in this one, that will become another drop score potentially, and then he can't really afford any others. So Luke Herbert in a precarious position here. He's in an even more precarious position though by going around the outside into Surtees. This is a brave move to try and make, but he does it. Luke Herbert, that was full commitment. It gives him the inside line for Clearways, and he will go back in front, but that was a risk that he felt it was necessary to take. They've lost an awful lot of ground to the leaders, but that matters little really. Harding tried to come back at him as they come along the start-finish straight, but that was, well, that was very, very difficult indeed between the two of them. Harding just couldn't quite keep the position to himself. And so Luke Herbert went through, but he's now sideways as he pushes on through Paddock. Now, can he catch the leaders? They've lost quite a bit of time with their dicing to the leading 3. Oh, Sam Tatler losing even more time, though, because he's in the gravel, and that is up at Clearways. And is that going to require an early end to the race, as we saw in this morning's first race of the day, second race of the weekend, when we had Will Stevenson off at Paddock Hill Bend? They elected, rather than to disrupt the race with endless yellow flags and safety cars, to just throw the checkered flag a bit early, because we are only a couple of minutes away from the checkered flag being flown anyway. Back out onto the pit straight comes this 3-way fight for 4th place, because Jack Sycamore, out of absolutely nowhere, is right with them now. Jack Sycamore started this race 12th on the grid, and he's now running 6th. Really good job from Jack in this one. And if you could just maybe get a bit more qualifying pace, he could be a regular front runner. He just doesn't seem to qualify all that well, does Jack? And then he spends the bulk of the weekend making up for that, because once you qualify midfield, it's often very easy to get stuck there. There's Simon Baldwin and Carl Garnett, then Steve Robinson. Will Stevenson, speaking of Will Stevenson, who retired from the second race, he's running well in this one. Then Livesley, Townsend and Kieran White, who was twice in the gravel trap in race number 1 yesterday, but his weekend has definitely improved since then. There's Tom Parker, car number 6, just ahead of Alex Miller in the number 7 car. And 35, Alex King. So the two Alexes getting themselves together here as they turn their way out of Graham Hill Bend. One of the AK Automotive cars, of course, is Alex King in 35. Slightly different livery to that of Jack Harding's. Certainly very distinctive colours though, and so there's no way that Alex Miller will miss him in his mirrors, and there's a bit of contact between the two of them, and Miller goes around, and that was all a bit unnecessary, but the door was left open, and it looked as though Miller tried to come back into the tight line and ended up making contact with Alex King, and so Alex King finds a way through. Here's a replay. You can see the door was open. Oh, King just misjudged that slightly there. He wasn't really up the inside once he got into the back of the number 7 car. There may well be a discussion between the two of them after the race about that one. Luckily, Miller was able to rejoin with no real damage, but it's certainly damaged his hopes of a good finish in this race. Someone whose hopes of a good finish seemed to be damaged midway through the race were James Blake Baldwin, when he started to lose places hand over fist, but he's now in the race lead and looking like he's going to take his 2nd race win of the year. He comes across the start-finish line to start what I believe maybe the final lap of the race. We might just squeeze 2 more laps out of it. No, this will be the last lap. There's confirmation of the last lap board, and so James Blake Baldwin has been able to pull away from Johnny Greensmith, who's still going to be able to salvage something out of this weekend, but not really as much as he would have hoped for. He'll still be 4th in the championship, but he's going to lose further ground to this man, Blake Baldwin, who will extend his championship lead now. I'm not sure how that works out with drop scores, but on scratch points, he will extend his championship lead over what should be Herbert now into 2nd place, I'd imagine. Well, Herbert, no, because yes, Herbert is ahead of Harding, but only by 1 position. So, and the fastest lap of the race still belongs to Harding. So I think it will still be Harding 2nd and Herbert 3rd. But out of the final corner they go. There's no doubt about who's going to take the race victory. James Blake Baldwin, the former champion, is doing everything he can to try and retake that title in 2018. He wins race number 3 here at Brands Hatch. Johnny Greensmith 2nd, and Aidan Hills comes home in 3rd. A very hard-fought 3rd. He'll be a bit disappointed maybe that it's not a race victory, but it's still a good podium finish. So Blake Baldwin for Greensmith from Hills the top 3. Luke Herbert 4th and Jack Harding 5th, ahead of Baldwin, Simon Variety in 6th. Jack Sycamore 7th, Carl Garnett 8th, Steve Robinson 9th, and Will Stevenson 10th. Then it's Alec Livesley, Gary Townsend, Christian White, Bradley Kent, and Tom Parker rounds out the top 15. Ahead of Alex King, Alex Miller, then Nick Boone, James Keller, George Grant. We lost Sam Tatler. Colin South unfortunately was a late non-finisher, and so too Mark Swarbrick. So championship standings then, there you see it's 6 points in it between Herbert and Blake Baldwin, with Harding in 3rd, but this is on drop scores, remember, so Herbert does still lead on drop scores ahead of Blake Baldwin and Harding. Greensmith 4th and Aidan Hills 5th, all still to play for.
James, what a busy race. It was tough, you fought through 1st place, well done.
Yeah, I think we battled through from 7th. You know, it was a hard race, but Blink Motorsport have done an amazing job with the car and given me an absolute weapon and tool to do the job, so I can't thank them enough. Car's wicked.
Yeah, what a move going into Paddock Hill. I don't think you could do that there.
No, nor did I. Turns out you can.
Well, for now, it's been a great weekend for you. Go and enjoy it. Well done.
Thank you.
John, I spoke to you before the race. You held them off for most of the race, but 2nd place in the end isn't too bad.
No, it's not a bad result really. Should have had that win, to be honest with you. James caught me napping top at Paddock Hill, so yeah, so no, 2nd's good for overall.
You pulled out a bit of a gap halfway through the race, and then they just came straight back at you.
Yeah, they were tripping over each other. My car's not been quick all weekend, to be honest with you, so I've struggled a bit for pace all weekend really. But no, they tripped over themselves and got me a little gap, and I thought, yes, 6 more laps to do. And then James caught me up like left or centre, like, so he caught me up and he caught me napping top of Paddock.
Aidan, 3rd podium of the year. What a race to do it in.
Yeah, it was really good. Firstly, I just got to say massive thanks to my dad. He works tirelessly with me, you know, working on the car all the time, every night, and it's obviously coming together because we're a lot better than we were last year. The race was really good actually. Obviously starting 5th, I thought we've got a good chance reverse grid to get on the podium. And I dropped back to 7th. I thought I've blown it now, and we just picked them off one by one, just kept on going, and found myself in 2nd. And then obviously James did a really good move on me, and I was quite content staying in 3rd.
Your first win isn't too far away.
Hopefully, we'll see how it goes. Like I said earlier to a lot of people, I'm not really trying to think about it too much, and just see when it comes, you know. Hopefully it will come sooner rather than later though.
Well done.
Thank you very much. Cheers.